As I've said many, many times, we often teach the way we were taught and lead the way we were led. Many of us as students, if we didn't turn something in, we got a zero and we didn't really question the practice. But, at times we're going to think about, well, why are students not doing things? Maybe sometimes they forget, maybe they just don't care, or maybe they don't find the assignment relevant or meaningful, or maybe something else is happening at home. I think that it's essential that we need to critically examine the message and lesson that we are imparting to our youth through this outdated practice of giving zeros. And quite frankly, it can be quite insensitive. So, as we think about zeros, let's look at some scenarios that apply to both teachers and administrators. And, when we think about preparation for the real world, that's why we give zeros or zeros have been given. But correct me if I'm wrong, but in education, teachers and administrators don't receive zeros if they don't arrive to work on time, fail to meet a determined deadline, don't read or respond to an email, and as a result, are unprepared for meetings, don't get necessary information, or forget to call parents back. In those four cases, educators don't get a zero, but we're not doing what we are supposed to do. So, as we think about if learning and growth is the goal, then it's our responsibility to tackle this issue. Because let's be honest, the negative impacts it's having on our kids far outweigh the need to make an example and go back to the cliche of, oh, we need to prepare kids for the real world, or in college, this will happen. You know, I like what Rick Wormelli says. The zero has an undeserved and devastating effect on students and their grades. So much that no matter what the student does, the zero distorts the final grade as a true indicator of mastery. Let's think about his kid. And if the kid gets a zero on a homework assignment or a project, but gets 90s on everything else. Does that zero truly reflect what the kid has learned? So, as we think about, the message that we're trying to send, from a practical standpoint, dishing out zeros just does not reflect good pedagogical practice. And if kids are not turning in homework or other assignments, well, maybe we need to ask ourselves, is the assignment meaningful and relevant? Does the learner see the purpose in it? Will feedback be given? You know, there's no perfection in education, and there's a lot of gray. And I'm not saying that there shouldn't be repercussions for students that don't turn in work on time, but we have to ask ourselves, and I think the most important question is this: if a student gets a zero, where is the learning attached to that? And it's a difficult question. And sometimes, we have to go back and say, hey, if this is the way we've always done it, so be it. But is it an effective practice? Does it send the right message to our learners? If we as adults are not willing to accept a zero for not doing something that we're supposed to do, then why do we do that to kids? Those are just some of my thoughts. Would love to hear what you all think on social media. Thanks, everybody.